and welcome to the Rangers Journal, everyone. My name is Billy Rankin. I'll be your host this evening. To go through maybe a cathartic process over the next hour or so, I'm joined by my three favourite fellow podders. Ross, how are you doing tonight?
Well, yeah, I think this will be consistent amongst the lads, but pretty deflated. One of the things about living in England, when you go on a team's call on a Monday morning and everyone says, "Oh, how was your weekend? Did you enjoy the sun?" You very much have to put a face on and say, yeah, loved it. Oh, what a great weekend that was. But inside you're sort of dying and cursing the name John Lundstram. But yeah, I'm sure we'll go through it all tonight and talk through it. And yeah, we've got a great panel tonight, so looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, mate. And Thommo, how are you doing? Welcome back.
Thanks, Billy. Yeah, top of the world, mate. Great. Absolutely not in the depths of depression or anything, but yeah. No, doing well, mate. Thank you, and good to see you back doing feeling better. I believe you were on your deathbed last week.
Well,
so
I did say deathbed in a text message to you, but maybe not deathbed, but certainly a fever bed. But yeah, feeling a bit better this week. Anyway, Scotty, how are you tonight, mate?
Hey, are you all right? I'm not surprised what happened yesterday, so therefore I'm probably the most pessimistic person in Rangers fan media when it comes to this team. There's a clear history of them letting us down in 3 trophies in 6-7 years. Kind of tells a story, so I'm not surprised. So I'm not too down the dumps about it, Billy.
Fair enough. Well, look, let's talk about the elephant in the room. A really important match tomorrow night against Dundee. 3 points. We're still in the title race. The treble is still there technically. I jest, obviously. Ross, when you seen that team sheet come out, there was a few rumours kicking about online that was going to be the team, and when it was confirmed, I was very deflated. What about yourself?
Yeah, massively. It didn't really set us up well, did it? I was with the North Yorkshire Loyal lads through in Harrogate, so shout out if any of them are watching. But I think when it all came out, you could probably hear the grown up in Glasgow. It was quite painful. I think there seems to be so many different things going on with various players, whether it's injuries, whether it's potential fallouts, whether it's one eye looking at their next club next season, or uncertainty over the future, should we say. That the team just looks, as soon as you see it on paper, it looks completely, there's no unity to it. It feels just like loads of players chucked on a page. You would never look at that and go, yeah, do you know what? That's the team that's going to go and get the points today. So I think, like Scotty going into it, very, very flat, very deflated. Seeing Borna Barisic put in at left back again, albeit it wasn't his worst ever game. It doesn't fill you with confidence. The centre back pairing, Davies and Suter, they both had their ups and downs in a Rangers shirt again. And you look across the pitch and you think, who are your game winners here? Who are the people that are going to be able to spark something out of nothing? As we've seen many players do in the past, and whether that's clawing us back into the game, whether it's a piece of magic from a long distance shot, or going at players and making them foul you in the box, whatever that would be. I think we just looked completely, just no unity would be probably the way I'd describe it best.
Yeah, Curry made a good point there in the comments. We all knew when we seen that team sheet what the result, maybe not the scoreline, but we knew what the final result was going to be, and that was we weren't winning it. Your opinion, Thommo, on the starting lineup initially, just to kind of get that box ticked?
Yeah, I mean, Ross has covered it, and Curry there. I mean, I made the prediction when I seen the starting lineup. Put a post online saying, sort of midfield, and it just deflated me. And it was going to be a case of us probably getting pumped in the first half hour, go 2 goals down, we'll get 1 back, and then we'll huff and puff, and ultimately we'll lose the game. But I mean, Barisic, he didn't have his worst game, as Ross has said, but Ridvan needs to be playing. We seem to be the only club in the world who someone's out for a small period of time, and then it takes them weeks to be ready to play a game again. I mean, Callum McGregor, he was out for 5-6 weeks for Celtic with an Achilles injury, came back as a substitute, and he's been in the team ever since. Why is Ridvan no playing? If he's fit to be on the bench, he needs to play. And as Ross rightly said, going forward, there's just no match winners there. And in midfield, as so often has it been done the last season and a bit, they just walk through us. We just have no legs in midfield, and that is where our issue is. And seeing people can say about Tom Lawrence swapping for Cantwell, it would have been exactly the same. Cantwell wouldn't have done anything more than what Lawrence did on Saturday. We need legs. We need athletes in that middle of the park, and we just don't have them. So, yeah, when I saw that team, it was pretty much inevitable what was going to happen, unfortunately.
Well, Scotty, I'll not bother asking you the same question, but I'll maybe change it around a little. What else could have been done? What other team sheet could you have put out that day?
In terms of team sheet, you could probably do a full pod on that on its own, but see what I seen tactically in the first half an hour. I was obviously, when I've interviewed Peter Prickett, a bearded coach, on Twitter. I interviewed him for Friday's pod, for the Old Firm preview pod, and he was telling me my midfield had to kind of step up in front of Celtic's midfield and keep them penned in. And I thought we actually done that the first kind of 25-30 minutes. But as usual, Billy, it's human error. It's not having the quality on the pitch that's good enough. I don't know about yous, I know we're going to get into it, but see when Dujon Sterling went to centre-back in the second half, that's what I want to see off my centre-backs. That's exactly what I want to see off my centre-backs. It was commanding. Kyogo didn't get a sniff. It was the best player on the pitch second half, 100%. In terms of team sheet, I mean, you could switch it up and go with Cantwell instead of Lawrence, or you could have brought Matondo back in, you could have brought Ridvan back in a left back, but I mean, I think what yesterday's highlighted is it just this team just isn't good enough and it needs ripped up and started again. There's about 3 players I would keep, and that's Butland, Sterling and Diamonde. The rest of them can go as far as I'm concerned, mate.
Well, I think the manager does agree with you, because he finally admitted today that there's going to be big changes.
Well, it's about time.
In the summer. I guess looking at the opening 20 minutes, Ross, I think it was... sorry, my name's escaping me. Just Lundstram, sorry. Lundstram during the week last week talked about we have to weather the first 25 minutes. Why do we have to weather the first 25 minutes? Why are we not taking the game to them? It was like the same at Ibrox. We have to weather the first... That's our home game, but we let them dictate the tempo of the opening. What was your thoughts on the first?
Yeah, in one sense, I can see why he said it. It's probably something that you wouldn't publicly say, but given how we performed in the first quarter of the game and in recent fixtures, we've been shambolic. Obviously the one previously at Ibrox conceding so early, and then a second one not long after. Watching the game, it felt like an inevitability. I think once we got 5-10 minutes out of the way, we were kind of like, I felt like, thank God we've actually been able to get through that, which is a horrible feeling to have. If you're really honest with it, it did feel that way. We were creating very little. Yes, we had a bit of possession at times, but even in the sort of the first 25 minutes of the game, you could see things that echoed throughout the match that weren't resolved at all. The amount of space that was being given in that centre of midfield. Now, whether or not, and probably need to do a bit of analysis as to whether it was players not tracking back with them, or people not knowing their roles in that central midfield position, or maybe in previous months you have had a defender step out and maybe they're a bit scared knowing Kyogo's there, that they need to be a bit closer to him. But the amount of room that McGregor, O'Reilly was getting, Hatate in that middle centre of midfield was obvious. I mean, for me, that was crying out for a Dujon Sterling in there. I know. We'll probably get onto some of the individual players, but I have yet to see Diamonde have a full game where he's played well in that position, and certainly against Celtic, he's been really poor and weak. I know we all hate and probably on the tip of our tongue is John Lundstram, and rightly so for the instance that happened in the game. But I just feel like he's a little bit more dominant in that area than Diamande. He sort of drifts in and out of games, has a flair touch or something, but his overall performance and commitment doesn't feel like it's whether that's a coming up to speed thing. I'm not sure, but it was a huge worry the amount of space that was being given in that midfield. It was only a matter of time before O'Reilly, actually did stick one away, and then obviously that did come, and then I guess the house of cards probably fell in on itself, but. Yeah, I understand. And going back to your question, I kind of understand why it was said, because we've been so poor in that way. But look, it was our game to win, not Celtic's game to win. Really, we needed to take the game to them. But then you look at, as you mentioned before, you look at the starting lineup, and who is the player to do that? Who are the two players, that could actually go, do you know what? That's our threat today. Let's get the ball out wide and let's allow them to cause a bit of chaos. They might need to double up on him and pull the centre back across to square up to him. And, before you know it, they're out of position, a bit unorganised and disorganised. I think there's been some great analysis I've seen on Twitter, and some of the key points that you're seeing is like the press was probably pretty poor at times. Players not really knowing what their role was within that, and now that's probably chopping and changing the team, as I said. But also just kind of is the level of quality there to do that job? And I think we're all probably starting to turn the page now and actually think, you know what? Maybe the quality's not there. Maybe we just have to face it. As much as we want to beat this drum and we've got injuries, the quality just isn't there.
As much as I do agree with your comments, I'm going to move to you, Thommo, regarding Diamande there not being really involved in the game. For me, Thommo, that's more to do with the ball being punted over his head most of the time rather than going through him.
Yeah, we were playing a lot of long balls, and I think with Diamande, I think part of the issue there with him is he's got players around him who don't have the legs, and he's having to cover, he's having to do maybe two people's jobs, sometimes maybe even three people's jobs, and it's just a case of he gets swallowed up in these games. But as you say, we played a lot of long ball. I've got no issues with that. Get their defence turned. They're not the best with the ball at their feet. They are there, mistakes are there to be made. But as Ross said, we just don't press in the right way. One player goes or two players goes, and the rest of the team just sort of sit back, and we just play around us. We just play around that press. It needs to be more coherent. Players need to know what they're doing and actually do their jobs. As Ross said, maybe the quality just isn't there. And I get what Lundstram's saying in the first 20-25 minutes. Celtic come out and they fly at you, especially at home. I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. And, they're a better team than us. They are a better team. And we need to find ways to, first of all, limit them and then do something to beat them. On Saturday, and a number of Old Firm games this season, we haven't matched them. That first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, how we were still 0-0, I do not know, because O'Reilly was having the freedom of the 18-yard box just outside to take shots whenever he wanted. And at no point did anyone just go, do you know what, we might need to think about picking him up here. And it's just, I don't know, it's just amateurish. It's just schoolboy stuff. If we can see it on the telly watching it, why can't players on the park or the management, etc., see it? It's just frustrating. And I think the long ball was down to the fact we just haven't got players good enough to play these little 5-10 yard passes and get it through Celtic's press. And I think that's why we were going long ball so often.
Well, can I come in on a long ball thing really, really quickly?
We'll come in on that because I'm going to ask you something else as well. So,
right, okay. It's just Jack Butland's distribution is good enough for Rangers to play a long ball. Countless times this season, we've seen him punting it up to a striker who has got a big frame, but he'll win you maybe half the headers in the air. And he's not even hitting Dessers half the time. His distribution's not good enough. Anytime we had the ball at the back and we're playing it back to Butland, it was just punting it right back to Celtic, and it was eat, sleep, repeat for me. What are you going to ask me?
Well, what I was going to say to you is both the boys there are saying maybe we just have to face that we've not got good enough players. But I would say we've got better players than Hearts and we've got better players than Kilmarnock, but they managed to do stuff to beat Celtic or have done this season. Going in with the same tactics that he's went with the last three games, with was it 4-3-2-1? Is that what they call it?
4-2-3-1
isn't working. Change tactically, would you think that would have made any difference? Would we have fared better if we just tried to play the park the bus game?
It's a hard one to say. To play like that, you need to be trained like that, I would say. I would say the team structure probably since the Motherwell game's has not been right since, and he's not made the necessary changes. Right, what to do? He's dropped Connor Goldson, but big wow, he doesn't deserve a pat in the back for doing that. He's done what was needed to be done. We've all been saying for weeks now that John Lundstram's been a passenger. He's cost us a title yesterday. There's no way around it. There's no way around about it. He's found wanting. He's jogging back to Matt O'Reilly, who scores the first goal. He scores the second goal, and then he gets sent off, and we just get ourselves back in it. So, in terms of that, it's in terms of how to play against Celtic. There is a way. If you press them, see the first 20 minutes, that's the way to play against Celtic, because we were pressing them, we were aggressive, we were physical, we were getting in their face, and then it's the incompetence of the quality in the squad that lets you down at the back. Let's see, even Tavernier's up the park and he passes the ball into the middle of the pitch, and gives the ball away, and Celtic up the park and score the first goal. It's completely and utterly incompetent, and it's not good enough. I swear to God, mate, every one of these players needs to go, apart from the three I mentioned. And I'm probably keeping Diamonde because he's signing. We've got to keep him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we really need to rip this up and start again, because it's not worked. We've been here for 6, 7, 8 years now, and we've had one good season.
Fair dues. Ross, are we ready to talk about the man, the legend, John Lundstram's performance on Saturday? I seen one clip today. I don't know if it's the first or the second goal, but Willie Collum was actually beating him for pace in the middle of the park to get back for the goal. Describe it. Break down the first goal for me, how you saw it.
Yeah, I think we were on the ascent. Well, we're definitely matching them in terms of ball possession and I guess moving the ball forward. We're sort of starting to creak away at them slightly. We never really looked like creating anything concrete, but the ball breaks down the center of the pitch, I think it is, and yet again Matt O'Reilly stood in acres of space, and I think Borner's probably a bit at fault as well. Shock horror with that one, and I think it's Lundstram as well, who's just not tracked back in time. And look, O'Reilly just he'd had a few Warden pot shots before that. I think one had just gone past the post, and I think he'd had another one as well. And this one went in the bottom corner. And actually, from Jack Butland's face, I think he was just like, "Well, that was coming." I can only do so much. And yeah, I just an absolute nightmare goal to give away. And as I said to you before, and Thommo made a good point there. That the press was what we needed to do, but we were doing it so incoherently. I mean, Stevie Wonder could have seen that Liam Scales can't pass a ball 10 foot. Like that is an obvious thing. So, and when we're setting up, and this is maybe something that we need to have a think about, is has Clement set us up correctly? Because a press is a press that you're setting traps. If you're pressing for pressing's sake, then you're just going to tire yourself out. You need to set traps, as in get the ball to certain players and then double up on them. Create it, make it difficult for them to progress the ball forward. That's literally what the press is about. You're retaining the ball in the final third, squeezing on them, getting it to their more vulnerable players, and looking to win the ball in high areas. So for some reason, we weren't doing that. We were just maybe a bit kind of all gusto, but not actually trying to be strategic and tactical about how we want to win the ball back. But yeah, just a nightmare goal to give away. And obviously there's not a good time to give away a goal, but that just felt like it was so preventable. If Clement had just said, right, let's just mix this up for a bit, okay? Just for argument's sake, Diamando go out on the right for a bit, and we're going to get the ball to you, and I want you to retain the ball for a bit. Sterling, you're dropping in. And for the next 10, 15 minutes, we're just going to quell anything that happens in this area. We're going to, I want you to sit in front of that 18-yard box and just guard that area like a quarterback, like a whatever, like a sort of hybrid defensive centre-back midfielder role, which probably is Lundstram's role, to be fair. But it just didn't happen, and the space was coming, and the goal was just, inevitable, and very, very frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Thommo, I think a lot of comments anyway that I was reading in our chat group was about Sterling starting in the middle of midfield next to Lundstram instead of having Lawrence in there. Do you think he would have done a better job in that position, and do you think he could have prevented that goal?
I think so. Whether he could have prevented the goal or not, obviously, is an opinion, but I think he would have done a better job. When it comes to Lundstram, he checked out 6 weeks ago when the rumours about Trabzonspor started coming about. His performance levels dropped. We saw it when Sterling went back to centre back, and as Scotty rightly said, he was fantastic. So, as Ross has said there, stick him in front of the back four and do a shielding job. Matt O'Reilly is the one who's going to cause us issue there. Get on him, and he would have done that. And I think it's very telling that this guy is he's a defender by trade. This is his first season, and we're looking at him to basically dig us out of it. We're looking at him to be our main player. We're putting him on the right-hand side, expecting him to be an attacking force. And to be fair, he contributed to our goal. But just going back a little bit before Celtic's goal, when it was 0-0, we had a great chance with Fabio Silva with a header, and that it's just begging to be buried. Just get your forehead on it and put it in. But he's going in a way that I don't know whether he's expecting a push in the back from Johnston. I don't know. But he's gone in on it with absolutely no confidence that he's going to score this header. And it's, again, the game's 0-0. It's in the balance, and we miss a big chance. And then they go up the park and score. But another point on the goal, Barisic, I think, could have done a bit better. Lundstram let O'Reilly, but as you're seeing O'Reilly shoot, Alistair Johnson goes running by the both of them. So even if he doesn't shoot, you can just pop him in, and Alistair Johnson's in one-on-one. It's just, I'd say, just schoolboy stuff you learn as a child. And as I say, certain players have checked out, and I mean, we'll speak probably a bit more about Lundstram, but I don't want to see him in a Rangers shirt again. I know he'll be back for the Cup final, but if he's in that starting lineup, then, just give Celtic the trophy now. There's no point in us playing the game. It's, as I say, play Raskin, play one of the youth players. I don't care. I don't want to see him in a Rangers shirt again.
Seeing that miss from Silva, Scotty, makes me think he actually did dive in the Hearts game to try and get the penalty, because his first reaction seems to be to try and look for contact or look to go down.
Aye, 100%. It does. And I think that's just the nature of his game, to be honest. I think the way his footballing education is probably based around look for contact, because that's the way they play the game in sort of Portugal, and ever so slightly anyway. He should have every day chance, but at the same time, it was a wee bit merit. It was one of his better games yesterday, Silva. I'm not saying he justified his wages for last week, but he did turn up on a defence in the midfield, I've got to say. At least he was trying to put some kind of effort and an impact to match somehow. He looked like a player with a point to prove. And he is, because he's playing for his own future down at Wolves. Just touching on Thommo's point about Lundstram and Barisic, the Trabzonspor fans were on Twitter yesterday and after not saying they wanted to cancel a pre-contact for Lundstram. So, tells you everything you need to know about him, doesn't it?
I wouldn't be surprised if he just ends up back in the Championship, to be honest, Scotty.
He probably will.
Ross, it's not really a good time to talk about Lundstram and just in general from the game, because there is a goal in between these two calamitous mistakes, but the own goal, I don't know what he's doing. People saying his body's position's wrong. I don't know why he's not just clearing that into row X.
It's something I've been trying to ponder and think through.
Because it's a good finish, unfortunately.
Not yet, sorry. Not yet. Maybe we'll laugh about it next year.
Okay.
I have no idea. The only thing I can think of is, that he's made quite a run back. I know that there's a joke that I think Willie Collum got in his way, and that's who he was pointing at after the goal. And to be fair to him, he kind of does get there ahead of the Celtic. I think it was O'Reilly behind him, actually. I think he has actually made up a bit of ground to get there. It's just one of those weird, instinctive moments. The ball flashes across the front. He's just stuck a leg out almost. And I think it's not like he's punted it. He's just touched it out, just almost hesitantly. And it's clipped off it. And obviously the ball was put in with pace. If that happens, okay, and Lundstram goes on and puts in a really good shift and makes the big tackles and is really critical to the way that we play for the rest of the game, and we lose the game, yeah, you'd be frustrated with him. But these things happen in football. For me, it's not. That's not an unforgivable thing. It's very, very frustrating and very, very preventable. But that does happen in football, and that's just the unfortunate nature of it. I can't get my head around. Well, that's my conclusion anyway. Feel free to chip in, lads, whatever you think. But I think it, and I'm sure we'll come on to the next part. The next part from John Lundstram is unforgivable. So I don't know if the other lads want to talk through that goal.
Yeah, if any used to want to chime in on the own goal.
Yeah, I personally, Ross, I think he's trying to play it back to Butland. I don't think there was a huge amount of pace on the ball. He could have taken a touch. His feet weren't stuck under him or anything, and I think he's trying to be a little bit clever, a little bit cool, and he's just tried to cushion it back, and it's gone off. Rather than just clearing it and getting set again, I think he's just trying to be a little bit too cute, and it's not come off for him. But like I say, only John Lundstram knows really what he was thinking.
Yeah. I mean, whatever it is split second judgment, isn't it, that he's made, whether or not, and whether that's kind of an accidental just almost like a knee-jerk instinctive thing to stick his leg out and try and stop the cross, which in my opinion I think it is, but either way, he's got to be clear in it. You don't take risks in that area, especially as a goal down when we're trying to chase the game. He'll know that, by all means he'll be sat there going through every step that he's taken on that park now, I would think. He'll know that. But again, we talk about quality. Is he good enough? Is he good enough in those games to play? I think we all know the answer now.
Scott?
It just kind of sums up the level of quality we've got in our squad when he's ran onto it and he's not been able to see that his feet aren't right. And if like Thommo says, if he's trying to be cute, then he's got it. It says an awful lot about him as a football player. If that's him trying to be cute, like just put the ball to park instead of passing it back to Butland, who's going to clear it to Celtic anyway. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't wait to see the back of the guy. Honestly, I really, really can't wait and I know he's going to start this cup final. That's the sad thing about it. Come on, it's going to start him in a cup final. There's no danger about it. No matter how good Nico Raskin plays between Dundee and Hearts, doesn't matter. He's going to start a cup final. But it just sums up the quality of his squad. It really does. And then his tackle after it, his tackles. I mean, I like seeing Rangers.
There is a goal in between that.
Right, there you go.
So, and I want to spend more time on just the tackle anyway. But unlike what we normally do, and that's to go in at the break down, we get a goal back, and I think it's a fairly decently worked goal. I can't remember who puts the cross in, Ross.
Bona lays it into the back post.
It's a decent cross, and I guess you could say Sterling, instead of trying to go for goal himself, quite cleverly knocks it back to Dessers, who's basically there on his own to knock it in the net. And to Dessers' credit, he doesn't go celebrating. He's finally got a goal against Celtic. He wants the ball back. That's what I wanted to see from him. What do you think, Jen? What were you thinking when the goal went in? Was your hopes getting up again, Ross?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We were going mad. It's something that we've not done historically well is play well, score in the first half, should we say? I wouldn't say we played well, but score and peg them back. And you go in at half time 2-1 down, and with a bit of momentum behind you, and before you know it, the crowd get nervy. You have a few chances. Man goes down in the box or a handball claim or whatever it would be, and before you know it, it's you're right back in the game, and anything could have happened. So that's the frustrating part about what happens next. Is anything could have happened from then on. We could be sat here with a very different title to our podcast this evening, which is, the title race is back on. Let's go. So yeah, just so annoying and unforgivable.
Thommo, how are you feeling? Because I think it was noticeable that the crowd were very nervous after that goal went in.
Well, that's it. I mean, people go on about us not having any fans there, and it can be an intimidating venue. But on the flip side of that, when those Celtic fans don't like what we're seeing on the pitch, it can be poisonous for the Celtic players, and us getting a goal back so quickly after them going 2-0 up is, was pretty much the best scenario that we could hope for. Quietens down the crowds. All it needs then is just a little bit of calm heads. Let's get to half time, reassess this, and then we'll go from there in the second half. And we all know that Celtic team tires in the second half. We've seen it. We've seen it numerous times. So at that point, you're thinking, all right, we've got a bit of a chance here. And to be fair to Dessers, I loved that goal. It was a good, proper striker's goal. He's in between the posts, getting ready for any knockdowns, and he's scored a good header. And again from Sterling, he obviously had the height difference on Greg Taylor, and I think we didn't. I mean, not that we had a huge amount of the ball in the first half, but that was something we didn't really utilise. But the goal was excellent and really brought us back into the game. And again, that's why I'm so annoyed with Lundstram doing what he did, because it kills us. It absolutely kills us after that.
Scotty, I thought it was a really good goal based on the Aberdeen game, because they lost 2 goals similar to that in the semi-final. So clearly it was something we were targeting.
Aye, definitely. It's something I've been seeing for the last couple of months. It was an area of pitch that we had to target in Celtic's back line, and the fact that Liam Scales has got another 4-year deal means hopefully he's got another 4 years of being able to target 4 years of being able to target that area of pitch. So that's good news in itself. A tidy finish for Dessers, but overall, I would say, with it being a good goal and stuff, the big man was generally starved of service up front. He was put up front on his Todd and need to get near him most of the game, apart from the first 15-20 minutes. So that's kind of it for me. Do you know what I mean? That's where I'm at. I'm kind of at the final stages with squad now, where I'm just like, just finish the season, just get it done. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, he's not the kind of player who's going to hold up the ball with these long balls that aren't going to him half the time. He's not the player to do that. He's not Morelos for a start. But I'll stay with you, Scotty, because just after the goal is the thing that Lundstram will be remembered for his entire career. Never mind a couple of good months leading up to the Europa League final. Never mind playing well when Clement first came in. This is going to define his Rangers career, because there's no need to make this tackle.
I think the idea that's been through his head is, if he can reach that ball, then, and he doesn't take the man as bad as he does, then you're looking at it and it cheese the supporters up, even though there's no supporters in the stadium. It's just, he's trying to inspire a team, I think, potentially is the idea behind it. But it's horrific. It's a red card all day long. There's no way of defending it. That is my way of defending it, and saying maybe his intentions been to kind of G his team on a wee bit, but being John Lundstram, he's got it horribly wrong and get himself sent off and sold the game for us. So
I can understand that, Scotty, if it was Ibrox and he was trying to get our fans on board, but there was no fans there to.
But Billy, see if you've just scored a goal and then you've seen one of your teammates in the middle of the park winning a ball off a Celtic captain, I think that's what he's tried to do. I'm not defending him whatsoever.
Ross, you noticeably angry when we first came on talking about Lundstram in general, but this tackle at the time, did you think it was going to get called back for the VAR review? Because I did.
Yeah. It was reckless and I guess out of control. All the things that would determine a VAR review. So rightly done and rightly sent off. I think we'll all agree with that. The first replay showed that. You could see he caught Johnson. At the end of the day, sort of Johnson's facing his own goal and his own corner flag in a sense. And Lundstram, for me, he's probably very, very frustrated at himself for the own goal. The position that puts us in, 2-0 down away from home, chasing, what looks now to be a very uphill struggle to get anything from the game. And yeah, he's probably full of energy, full of adrenaline from the own goal and the frustration at himself, and then B, getting back in the game. And I think he is trying to get the other players to get that same momentum and the same kind of energy that he's feeling in his veins at that point. But horribly mistimed tackle. You'd understand. Well, would you if he was 22 years old and he was a Rangers lad, and as you say, there's it's at Ibrox and he goes in and he mistimes it and he understands straight away. But he's 30 years old. He's played in big games. He's played in finals. He's played in the English Premier League where, up against big teams. He should know better. There is no excuse for it. And, when Clement has spoken before about Goldson, Tav and Lunny being his three kind of, the older, more mature, experienced players who are leaders within the dressing room, what kind of an example does that lead for the rest of the team? Leaving them high and dry, 10 men on a pitch away from home with no fans. I mean, I was really, really frustrated with him that night and angry towards what he's done. And, if he does leave and that's his parting gift to us, well, let him go now for all I care. If it is on the case that he is genuinely leaving, I'd just say, okay, go. Go and take an extended holiday because you're no use to us. We have to build for the future now. John Lundstram isn't the future. And his performance in that first half was despicable. And, you're saying kids watching this game, understanding how to play football, and you see something like that. The annoying thing is that if it was a split second differently and he takes the ball, we're all off our seats and we're all, so it is a game of fine margins, and I get that. But given where the guy stood, given that Lundstram's just scored an own goal, use your brain, jockey the guy, try and win a foul, and then we're right up the pitch there, and you get the ball in the box and you go in 2-2 at half time. Just think about it. And I think that's just, it's again, lack of quality in decision making, lack of quality in ability. It has to be that put down to that. I can't think of anything else.
I do agree with you, Ross, but I would go as far as saying he's got form for losing his head and committing fouls to get himself sent off. Thommo, do you agree with what Ross is saying? I can imagine you will, but have you got anything else to add to that?
The only thing that I can add to it is I don't understand why he's that far up the pitch in the first place. He's supposed to be the holding midfielder now. Let's say he goes charging in and he misses that tackle and Johnston steps away from him. O'Reilly's stood 10, 15 yards up the pitch in acres of space for him to be popped into. So again, it's like, why are you that far up the pitch? And why are you putting in that tackle? As Ross said, he's facing his own goal. He's not going anywhere. And even if you win the ball in that sort of, with the way he's gone in, it's not like you're going to be taking it and running towards goal. The ball's just flying out of play. It's just stupidity. And the only thing that I was surprised about is that Willie Collum didn't flash a red straight away. Mm-hmm. We've seen some of the tackles that he has deemed as red card in the past. One of them was Lundstram at Hibernian a couple of seasons ago. And the only thing I thought of at the time, I thought, well, he must have got the ball and then gone through the player, and then you see the replay, and there's no defending it. If that's a Celtic player and a Rangers player, you're screaming for it. You're screaming that's a red card, and it was VAR got a spot on, and on that occasion, Willie Collum got it spot on.
And Scott, I hope, I don't think you're wrong, but I hope you're wrong that Raskin does play a couple of blinders and gets played for the cup final. But if he goes and plays Lundstram, Clement plays Lundstram, he's just doing what two previous managers have got the sack for, playing these players that can't be trusted to. I don't have the skill quality, whatever it is. They're just not got it to either do it on a regular basis or keep it going for long enough, or just in general not having, I think Ross was saying, just not being skillful enough.
See, to be honest with you, Billy, see if we heard it in his press conference today, he says that Lundstram's going to play again this season. You will see him again. So, not to quote him, but I think he said words to that effect, right? So, that tells me that he's going to come back in after he's banned for a cup final and he'll play rubbish and whatever else. That'll be send-off. If that does happen, then I didn't really want to bring this up tonight, but there is going to be questions over. Come on, you can look at what's my style of play? A long ball for Butland up the park that goes out for a throw-in, goes to the full-backs constantly, hits the centre-backs. We've got good players in the middle of the park like Diamondi. We've got technical guys like Todd Cantwell. Now, I'm not saying Cantwell's good enough, but Tom Lawrence as well, who they can all play football in a ball possession team. And 9 times out of 10 against Celtic, we're playing a long ball. I've not seen a style of play from the manager since he signed, and I think if you looked across the Rangers support, the one change we'll want to see after Bill and the misery that was Bill Ball was an identity on the park. But come in, he's maybe a mentality manager, maybe a man manager. He got results and put us right back in a frame for a league title that we probably didn't think we were ever going to challenge for when he first came in. So you got to give credit where credit's due, but it is beginning to raise a question for me that, yes, they dropped Goldson, but there was, Tav you can't drop because we've not really got anybody that can step in there. Sterling's playing right wing, centre, mid, left back with injuries in our positions, but it does kind of beg a question for me why John Lundstram's been brought in and he's Clement's guy. The fact that Clement's made that judgment is worrying enough for me. Because I don't know how you thought Raskin played when he came on yesterday, but I thought it was a positive influence in the pit.
Yeah, right.
I've gave Raskin stick, but he came in and you knew he was there, and he didn't make any horrific tackles. He was just tidy in his play and won possession back and done a shift. This squad needed to get back to basics after Motherwell, and it's not. He's not hit a reset button properly. Where seasons withered away, we get put out after Benfica, Ibrox, and we thought we looked tired, and then we've come back and we've dropped points to Dundee. We won away in the Scottish Cup, the Hibs. It's just been very, very Rangers post January, I would say, since we come back for this international break. So for me, if I see Lundstram the Rangers tap the rest of the season, I probably will be asking questions of the manager.
The only thing I can hope for is that he is so tired, and that explains his terrible performances recently, and he maybe needed a break and a 2-week break.
Or he's had his bounce off a new manager coming in, and he's shown his true colours.
Yeah.
I think when you look back at it, Billy, again with Lundstram, he's been here 3 years now. If you just go on old firm games, is there any standout moments where he has stood out in those games? Anything, goals, assists? There's nothing that comes off on the top of my head that I can think of. And I think for someone who's pretty much played the majority of those games, I think that's very telling. And just on Scott's point with Raskin, I've been very critical of him. I've said I don't think he's good enough. I don't see what he brings to the team. But at least on Saturday when he came on, he got close to McGregor. He put him on his backside a couple of times, didn't give him time, and he actually looked like he wanted to be out on the pitch and try to do something. So, yeah, he for me needs to start the next 3 games and see what he's got. But just again with Clement, that's 3 games now against Celtic that we've not won. Cup final will be number 4, and next season our first game to Celtic will be away. If he goes 5 games against Celtic without winning, I'm sorry, but no Rangers manager can be getting away with that. We'll be sat here in December talking about the new manager. I can pretty much guarantee it. Yeah. So he needs to, as I say, if certain players are in that cup final, alarm bells will start ringing for me.
And Ross, he was someone that Gerrard chased, really wanted, and I don't think he's ever played anything close to what I was expecting when he came in.
Oh, sorry, we're talking about Lundstram still.
Yeah.
I've been a fan of Lundstram as someone that plays football, and I play centre midfield. I think his receiving of the ball and his kind of awareness is very good. I think he probably touches the ball more than anybody else in that central midfield position. So when he plays well, the whole team does play well. Unfortunately, we just haven't seen that enough. And I think it's his decision making that's poor. I would say that's probably one of the weaker areas. We know he can hit a ball from distance. He can play left foot. He can play right foot. Over a burst of a few yards, he's got a bit of pace when he wants to. I think it's his decision making that really lets him down. And whether or not that is tracking a man, whether or not it is lunging into a tackle, I just don't think it's been there. But as I say, when he plays well and he progresses the ball forward very well, we will play well as a team. That's just quite critical. That central midfield role is that player. It's the link. It's the move from attack to defense or defense to attack. And he does do that well, and he has done it well. So obviously the buck is going to lie with him when it doesn't play, when the whole team isn't playing well. For me, I would take this game out in isolation a bit, and I think it'd be fair to say if anyone did what he did, we would all be saying the same thing about them. Now, I'm not stood here saying Lundstram should play and sign, and let's build a team around him, because that's not the case. But at the same time, he has given us good moments in games, and he, when Clement came in, I think for about 2 or 3 months, he was our best player by a country mile. So it's the consistency, it's the decision making, and it's that impact that he has on the wider team that means if he's not up to scratch, he's not playing well, then it does have a real detrimental effect. One thing I would say is, and just touching on what the lads were saying about Clement, we have to remember that this isn't Clement's team. This is not his team at all. He has not put a stamp on it. He is playing with one hand tied behind his back and trying to motivate players who look dead and buried. Scott Wright looked to be gone. Matondo looked to be gone. Danilo out for the season. So many players that would have probably not been in this team or would have been in this team, and that's not Clement's choice. I understand what we're saying about the decision making from him in terms of who he plays, and I agree that if we want to build a team moving forward, we can't, and if Lundstram is going away, why would you play him in there? It would be, you'd really have to question his logic behind it, because the guy's leaving. He's just been sent off and scored an own goal. Why would you play this player again and risk it? What's the benefit? There is no benefit. The benefit is he scored, or, we win the game and he still goes away. The benefit for others is Raskin could come in, Diamande could play alongside him, Sterling could play in there. For me, that feels like a real natural three that would probably be quite cohesive there. Obviously, then you lose a bit of height in the forward areas with Sterling, and probably that aggression on the right-hand side against Taylor, who's probably quite susceptible. But it feels like if we can just stop them playing, as a basic, stop them playing, then we can start to look at how we attack. Because unless we do that, we're always going to be 2 or 3 goals behind with the way we've been playing recently. But for me, questions about Clement are miles off. Miles
Me
off.
too.
Yeah, it's not even crossing my mind at all. It's just I don't want to get into it, because who do you replace him with? How long? What is this? Just a 6-month spell as a Rangers manager now, or you're out? Come on, we need to be rational about it. And I understand the queries about the team decision making, but give the guy time to bed. And even if we do lose that first Old Firm of the season, he needs time, and that's something that as a Rangers manager you very rarely get, but we do need to do that. And if we want to be building for the future, everything that he says about the players and the caliber of players that you hear he wants to bring in, and have Rangers as the Porto of Northern Europe, who will be supplying these, South American or Asian players to the market to really build our stature as a team who have a really strong progressional route for players into Europe. That's all the things we've been asking for years. So we need to back that, see what happens, and give it enough time to let it come to fruition. And I think it's very hard to do, and it feels a bit uncomfortable. But for me, that shouldn't even come into the equation yet.
But Ross, see, the fact we've not got some sort of identity or playing style, that's the bit that's concerning me. And the fact that we've all seen it for weeks, that there's players in that squad that needed dropped and they've not been dropped. Dropping Goldson's not good enough. I'm sorry. He should have dropped. There's others that could have been dropped. He should. Lundstram to begin with. He should have changed his tactics too. He could have went with a different system yesterday. He went with the same lineup, same formation that get beat. Drew at Ibrox. Sorry, it's not working. He needs to change something up. And what my concern is we've done this with Beale in the summer. We brought Raskin and we brought Cantwell in January, and we thought, right, we've beat them in the last game of the season. We're on the right path. And then we gave him the keys, and he basically went and, I don't want to swear, but We all know what Bale done. So my concern is going down this route that we're going down now with these signings. If there's not some form of Scottish-based or British-based players coming in, if it's all going to be South Americans and stuff like you say, then you're running a real danger in our Paul Le Guen era.
Well, Scott, if I come in just now, just to finish off the game side of things, because I did want to touch on what the squad could need for next season. If I can do that in a wee minute, but it wouldn't have been a Willie Collum Old Firm game if Willie Collum didn't do a Willie Collum thing, and that is not change his mind when he was called to the monitor. In real time, who wants to crack in at this? Anybody feel free.
I'm not bothered about referees.
No, it's not.
No, just on it. I didn't think it was a penalty when I first seen it, and then when you actually see the replays, Diamandi doesn't even attempt to make a tackle. And I've said that if that was Silva up the other end, we'd be getting absolutely crucified for diving. But nothing's the fact that, as I say, the fact that Collum's been called over and he still thinks that is a penalty. Again, we spoke about it on one of the pods last week. That's why there's no Scottish referees going to the Euros, because it's absolutely embarrassing. You see that and you think it's a penalty. There's no hope. So that's all I've got to say on it. And thankfully, justice was done in the end.
Ross?
Yeah. I thought it was a penalty when I first saw it. I thought it was a classic tangle of legs. Didn't really see it was quite quick moving into the box. It reminded me a little bit of Sterling against Hibs away, when there was a bit of legs kind of get tangled a little bit, and it tends to always go in the attacker's favour in that situation if they're brought down. But I was wrong, and the replay showed that it should never have been a penalty in a million years. And as soon as it went to a VAR check, I thought, well, it's never going to be a penalty. You can see the movement of O'Reilly's leg outwards to capture, Diamandi's standing leg as he's running, his planted foot. So it was never, ever a penalty. But look, I mean, we'd probably be a lot more aggrieved if it was decisive in some way in the outcome of the game. It wasn't in the end. But yeah, another decision that seems to have gone against us that I think we can feel aggrieved by.
I agree with you. But I guess moving on to what you were talking about there, Scotty, we had on the charity feed, Adam Thornton, who's well known in podcast line for being the really good at tactics side of things. So I asked him what he thinks Clement's style of play is, and he basically said we don't have the players at the moment to play Clement's style, because Clement's style is athleticism, it's speed, it's power, and we don't have a squad built for that. So I would say to you, you were talking about Scottish players. I don't necessarily think it has to be Scottish or British players, but the players that you want to bring in are going to have to be more athletic to compete with us, especially with a Celtic team that are more athletic as at the moment, but probably even stronger than that. Who would you be looking at to bring in? Who have you kind of pigeonholed for that? Fits that mould.
Right. If that's a kind of pacey, powerful, or that.
Don't
say
it. Yeah. Don't say it, Scotty. Do not say it.
You know who I'm going to say.
Yeah.
You know who I'm going to say. He's a top goal scorer in the SPFL. He's a better player than Cyril Dessers. I'm sorry, but he is. Point blank, he's a better player. Connor Barron, if we could get him in for Aberdeen, wouldn't be a bad signing. As far as I'm aware, though, I think he's Italy bound. This is my problem. There's guys like Lennon Miller, David Watson at Kilmarnock would absolutely love the guy. You're talking about pace, you're talking about raw power. He's got a beastly long throw on him. He's got absolutely everything you're looking for in the middle of the park. He's young, he's got potential. My main concern is I know Coppin's just in a door and all this type of stuff, but my main concern with I don't trust the Rangers buying players, basically, which is why I'm going back to my safe zone, which is when I was growing up, there was all these different types of players in your team, and what you used to be able to make up a title-winning team with is a formula that I know, but it's not fit by these days. It's about getting a trading model up and running, and it's all about money. Everything's money driven, but there still needs to be a certain degree of quality players that can come into a club who have been brought up, not even as Rangers supporters, who have been brought up around the mindset that know what Glasgow Goldfish Bowl's like. You need that identity in the team. 2 or 3 players within the squad. not saying their starters are in like that. I'm already, there's comments coming in about Shankland, but I'm always going to stick to my guns with Shankland. If he's not signed this summer, then there better be a right good replacement brought in. Because see, if the next striker that comes in doesn't score goals, then yeah, you're just constantly batting your head off a brick wall when the answer's right in front of you. Just go and make the obvious signing. Just go and get him. Cortez, I wouldn't mind coming in. There's all sorts of different kind of players for Columbia and stuff that I know with this centre backs linked strongly and stuff as well. But all these guys can come in and flop. This is a risk you're running. Do you know what I mean? They can all come in and flop. It's a hard one. I'm glad I'm not in the scouting department at Rangers anyway, but
Well, Ross, we probably need, and I'm probably going to see double figures players coming in, and we need at least 9 of them to hit the ground running. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I completely agree. Obviously, what we need and what we're going to get is probably 2 very different things. It would be my thoughts on it. I think we need to. I think Clement is in a lose-lose situation here. Half the fan base want to see attacking, stylish players who can carve open defenses and will shoot from distance and commit defenders, which we all want to see. But it's your nucleus of a team that we need to rebuild. Not the supplementary players who are the crafty, nice ones, and you can alternate them in and out and stuff. We've sort of tinkered with that for too long. And if you look at the players that are all skirting around the outsides now, even when they're fit, McCausland, Wright, Matondo, Cantwell, Lawrence, Silver, even in that bracket, I'd say they're no way the sort of nucleus of a team. And that for too long now, we've just had these peripheral players who got in and out. And we haven't had that core team. Really, you want to have 7, 8 players on a team sheet every week. And then the rest you can manipulate. But for too long, we've not had that, and that is down to injuries to an extent. But also, it's down to not having the quality there, and the players that you expect to step up not being consistent as they have been. And that's what happens. As I remember we had the Benfica game. We said, "Shit, look, we've got this basically same defense as we had against Benfica." And at the time, I thought, well, okay, they've been to a final, they've experienced stuff, they're cohesive as a unit, they're fine. But actually, when you take a step back, they are getting older. They are developing and changing the way they play, and pace drops, and aerial ability and confidence peaks and troughs. So I think the real struggle and the real worry is that it is that core nucleus of our Rangers team that we need, the foundations that then you can supplement. And it feels like a real rip up and start again job, which needs investment. It needs, and Scott, you rightly mentioned about money there, but clearly we're not doing enough to get automatic qualification for Champions League, which looks like it's going to drop off anyway. So there's tens of millions of pounds that have gone. So what is sustainable for us to be able to get this money coming in the door? And unfortunately, the trader model looks like that. So, you get Cortez in for 18 months and he goes on to someone. You get, Diamonde in for a few years and he goes on. We've proven it with Bassi, Aribo, other players that have come in and have done it. That's probably our main, or going to have to be one of our main revenue streams until we can access that Champions League pot again, which seems light years off at the minute.
I guess it's blind faith because we have no evidence of it working yet, but I do have a lot of faith in Coppin and what he's done in the past. And
I do.
I don't know if one kind of men who said it, but turn us into the Porto of this country, and I'd be quite happy with that, to see a player come in for 18 months and make his 20 million and go away.
Yeah.
Go away again.
Aye, but Billy, the thing is that's never going to be allowed to really happen, because you still need a core of players in the team that are going to churn out trophies every season. See, if you're not winning trophies, these players aren't going to get their big moves. It all comes back to being successful and maintaining the standards at Rangers. I don't care whether we get a Calvin Bass in who gets sold for 25 million in 3 years. I want to see a team on the park. If we can get the player training model up and running, brilliant, good. But for me, we just need to get back to basics, get back to winning trophies, get our standards back up, keep a manager for over a year. Get all that right first before we start thinking about turning into Portos and Sporting Lisbons and all this type, and Ajax and all this type of stuff. You know what I mean? It's all about it's all about bringing a silverware. I want that league back at Rangers, and we're nowhere near it just now.
When you go, Ross?
No, I was just going to say it's in some way it's a chicken and an egg in a way, because if you don't have the revenue, you can't reinvest because of fair play and financial fair play. So you need to be maintaining a turnover of players to allow you to act. And look, if it took 5 or 10 years where we had a number of turnovers every year of players that were coming in through the door and back out, all contributing to success in their own way, which then allowed you to get to a position where you're sustainably the best team in the land and getting that Champions League and sort of, being like we kind of have been in Europe where we're competing. It's a really, really tough one. And look, it's
Rossi, to be honest with you, I think we've got 3 games left to Jack Butland and he's away in the summer. I think Butland's your biggest sellable asset, and I think we need to sell him to bankroll this and get it up and running.
Probably right.
I think with what you guys are saying is right. I think we need the nucleus of that team, and we need to be buying low, selling high. I don't want to be accused of being all misty-eyed and a Rangers dad, but when Walter Smith came back in for his second spell, we were in the shambles after Le Guin. And what Smith done, he brought in Ugo Ehiogu and 140-year-old Davy Weir and got us solid at the back. We went to the likes of Celtic Park, didn't play pretty football, we got results, and then we built on that. We got that solid foundation, and then we went from there. And I think that's what Clement needs to do. I mean, I don't want to see him sacked after a year. I don't want us having constant manager revolving door. But the fact is, in Scotland, if you're not first, you're last. That's the long and short of it. And in the summer, he needs to get it right. Otherwise, we will be sitting here again come Christmas talking about a new manager and how things went wrong. So both Ross and Scotty are right. We need that nucleus of a team, but we also need that trading model just to be able to compete. And hopefully we've got the right people in charge to do that, get the balance right.
Well, look, we've gone an hour. There's probably a couple of things I would have liked to have touched on. Cantwell was one thing, but we can leave it for another day. Ross, have you got any final thoughts tonight, mate?
Yeah, cool. A lot. There's a lot that we could spend all night here, lads, talking through this, because we're in a crossroads as a football club. And the last thing, I guess, as a leaving thought, the last thing we can do now is get on the manager. We need to be behind the manager come these next few games. Whatever happens, we need to remain consistent with him and trust in him and Niels Coppen to get us to the next stage. Thanks to everyone that's come on. I know it's painful talking about this. Hopefully it comes across in the stress in our voices that we all care, and like you, we just want to see the club do well. So thanks everyone for your comments and thoughts. Cheers lads for sharing in the cathartic. I think it's been cathartic. I'm on my way to punch up my shed now, but after that I'll be all right, I'm sure.
Thanks, mate. Thommo, thank you for coming on. Have you got any other things you wanted to bring up quickly?
No, just absolute pleasure as always being on. It's been a good chat, and I think a lot of good points have been made. Read some of the comments as well, so thanks for everyone getting involved. Some really good. I just want to go back to one comment. I don't know who it was that said it, but he said Ian Ferguson wasn't that good a football player, but I would have to, kindly disagree with that poster. I thought he was a fantastic football player. But other than that, no, brilliant pod again, guys. Thanks again for having me. And as Ross said, let's get behind the team for the last 3 games and try and be positive.
Yeah. Scotty, thank you very much for looking after that user who was very interested in how my beard was coloured, which was a weird thing to go down. I don't know if you noticed it, but
he's away. He's away, mate. He'll not be back.
Just for men.
It wasn't a big Martha from Baby Reindeer, was it, Billy? You might have your own stalker on the go.
Well, thankfully Scotty took care of it. Scotty, thanks again for coming on, mate. Anything you wanted to say that you've not said yet?
No, pretty much got my bit out there. I wish me and Ross had started getting into it a bit earlier on in the pod. I think we could have waited for a wee round or two of Roscoe. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Hit a like, hit a subscribe button. We're getting close to the 1,000 mark, so thank you for that. Keep tuning in and keep coming back, basically. Thanks for hosting, Billy.
No worries. I always enjoy it, and thank you. I reiterate that. Thank you everyone for the comments. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends if they listen to podcasts or they like to watch it, because we think we're a good listen. So thank you everyone for listening in, and we'll see you in the next episode.